is necessary. Return to 16. Ancak das wiederherstellen.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيد الخلق رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد رب يسر وأعن وبك نستعين وتمم بالخير يا فتاح يا فتاح يا فتاح. Respected students, I welcome you to this class of ours in which insha'Allah ta'ala we will continue our study of al-Manzuma ash-Shabrawiyyah في علم النحو. طيب, insha'Allah ta'ala, without further ado, let's get started. Now, we're going to start off today with chapter 2 of Al-Manzuma ash-Shabrawiyyah, inshallah, the chapter on i'rab and what is meant by i'rab. Al-Allamah ash-Shabrawi rahimahullah said, هذا والإعراب تغيير الأواخر من اسم وفعل أتى من بعد ذي عمل فالرفع والنصب في غير الحروف وما يختص بالجر إلا الاسم فاحتفلي والجزم للفعل فالأنواع أربعة وليس للحرف إعراب فلا تطيلي وقد تبين أن الاسم ليس له جزم وليس لفعل جر متصل. And then he says the last two abiyat, لكل نوع علامات مفصلة فالرفع أربعة في قول كل ولي والنصب 5 علامات وثالثها خفض 3 وللجذم 2 تلي. Now, before we get into all of those details mentioned in these lines of poetry, we want to first understand what is i'rab, insha'Allah ta'ala. What does it mean when in the books of Nahu you see the word i'rab? طيب. Now, i'rab in the technical jargon of the grammarians refers to a phenomenon found in Semitic languages in general and the Arabic language in particular, right? Now, what is this phenomenon? The thing is, when we have a sentence in front of us, there needs to be a mechanism for us to be able to understand the functions of individual words in the sentence. Only then are we able to understand what the sentence means. طيب. For example, and a common example I always give is, the sun is rising. The sun is rising. Now, to any English speaker, even if they don't know grammatical terms, so, subconsciously, they will know that the main thing that we are talking about is the sun. And some information is being given about the sun. Now, in grammar, the main thing that we are talking about, right? That's called the subject. That's called the subject. And the information you're giving about it is called the predicate. In English, we are able to tell which word is, and of course, by the subject, this is a function, and predicate, this is a function as well, right? Other words can perform this function as well. I can say, for example, the boy is running. Now here, the boy, this is performing the function of the subject, and is running, this is performing the subject of the predicate. All right, the boy is the main topic of the sentence, and is running is the information about it. Now, in English, we're able to understand which word is the subject and which word is the predicate, what is the main topic of the sentence, what's the information about that topic. We're able to understand that in English through word order. Old English used to have inflection, where word order was flexible. But in modern English, this inflection disappeared, and word order became fixed. And the general word order of the English language is subject, verb, object. All right, subject, verb, object. So through word order, we're able to designate functions to words in an English sentence. We can say this word is performing the function of being the subject. This word is performing the subject of or the function of being the predicate. All right. In Arabic, however, it's not as simple, because in Arabic, word order isn't fixed. Word order, words move around, right? The subject, for example, in the Jumla Ismiya usually comes first, but it can come later as well. طيب. Sometimes the object can come before the verb and the subject in a Jumla Fi'liya, in a verbal sentence. So in Arabic, word order is flexible. So we need another method for us to be able to figure out which word is performing which role. And that mechanism is what we refer to as i'rab. All right, or a part of that mechanism, a part of that is i'rab. Now, what is i'rab? I'rab is the changing of the endings of words due to the changing of their grammatical functions. And what causes the i'rab is what we call a'amil, right? And I'm going to get into that more in a second, inshallah ta'ala. But first, let's look at an example. We say, جاء زيد. رأيت زيدا. مررت بزيد. Now you see the word Zayd, its endings change. In the first, it's Zaydun. In the second, it's Zaydan. In the third, it's Zaydin. This change of ending is called i'rab. تغيير أواخر الكلم. ابن عجروم says in الأجرومية تغيير أواخر الكلم لاختلاف العوامل الداخلة عليها لفظا أو تقديرا. The changing of the endings of words. Now, words that have this property, whose endings change, these words are called mu'rab. They are mu'rab words, right? Remember the terms. I'rab is, what is i'rab? I'rab is the changing of the endings of words. Why do they change? We're going to talk about that in a second. But they're words whose endings change. As you can see, Zaydun, Zaydan, Zaydin. These words are called mu'rab. On the opposite spectrum of i'rab, you have something called bina. Bina is a word having a fixed ending, to the point that you can change its function in a sentence. You can add different words before it, but the word's ending will not change. Its ending will be fixed. All right. So an example of that is if I say جاء هذا, this came. مررت بهذا, رأيت هذا. You'll notice هذا, its ending remains constantly the same, regardless of what I put before it, regardless of which grammatical context I put it in. Words like هذا are called مبني. Words like هذا are called مبني. All right. Now, in Arabic, we have a combination of mu'rab and mabni words. Mu'rab words whose endings change when you put them in different grammatical contexts, when you put different types of words before them, when you make them perform different grammatical functions, their endings change. These are mu'rab words, like Zayd. And then you have some mabni words, even when you change their grammatical context, you put them in different grammatical positions whereby their functions change. You put different types of words before them, their endings remain fixed. All right. These words are considered, or they're called mabni. So in Arabic, we have these two concepts that work hand in hand. Arabic has in it the phenomenon of i'rab, but it has in it the phenomenon of bina as well. And it's a mixture of i'rab and bina, which we use to decipher the meanings of sentences. It's a mixture of mu'rab and mabni words that help us decipher the meanings of Arabic sentences. Now, words which are very dynamic, which have dynamic meanings and perform dynamic functions, they're usually mu'rab, right? Because they can perform so many different functions. For each of those, or for many of those different functions, you'll see that their ending changes. And that change in the ending is supposed to show that here is performing a different function. For example, the ending in Zaydun, it shows that Zayd is the subject here. Whereas the an ending in Zaydan, shows that it is the object here. And the in ending in Zaydun shows that it is an indirect object, and it's in a prepositional phrase here. Or it's in a prepositional phrase here. So the ending denotes something. It has a meaning. It shows that Zayd is the subject there. The an ending shows that it's the object there. And the in ending shows that it is the indirect object in a prepositional phrase there. طيب. For mabni words like hada, we will use context to figure out. So the context of the sentence here will tell me that hada is the subject. And the context of bihada will tell me that here hada is an indirect object in a prepositional phrase. And ra'aytu hada, the context here will tell me that hada is an object here. All right. Now imagine if all the words were mu'rab, all of them, their endings changed. That would lead to some difficulty, right? Because every single word is mu'rab, every single word, its ending is changing. That might even require us to have, imagine if every word was mabni, to figure out the different functions that words are performing. So Arabic has a balance there. Arabic strikes a balance there. You have some mu'rab words, and with these mu'rab words, what happens is that their endings change. Sorry, just give me one quick second, Afwan. Afwan, apologies. Now, so as I was saying, we have some words which are mu'rab, and their endings change. And these endings show us, these endings tell us what their grammatical functions are. And we have some mabni words, and these words, their endings remain fixed. And inshallah, we'll cover that mabni words are of two types as well. There are those mabni words which just perform a singular function. They don't have many different functions that they can perform. So they don't need to be mu'rab in the first place. They don't need to have different endings in the first place because they just perform a single function. Whereas there are some other mabni words that perform multiple functions, but their functions can easily be deduced from the context of the sentence. And through a mixture of i'rab and bina, we are able to then decipher the meanings of Arabic sentences. For example, ja'a zaydun. Ja'a is a fi'l madi, and fi'l madi is mabni always, as we'll cover inshallah, and it's always mabni on a fatha. Zaydun here is its subject, and a subject is supposed to be marfu', meaning it's supposed to have a dhamma at the end, and we'll talk more about that in a second, inshallah ta'ala, as well. طيب. So Zaydun is the subject, Ja'a is the predicate, and if we were to translate this, we would say Zayd came. Zayd came. So we've understood now. Now, fi'l madi, it performs one function, which is the function of being the predicate. That's it. There's some nuance there and some details there, but they're covered further in intermediate text, inshallah ta'ala. Those who are interested after this course of ours to build on this knowledge that they're getting in the Shabrawiyyah course, they can sign up, inshallah, for Mutammimatul Ajurrumiyyah, inshallah ta'ala, and they can build on this further there, inshallah ta'ala, with us. طيب. But fi'l madi generally, it acts as a predicate. طيب. The same thing goes for fi'l amr, right? So they don't need to have these different case endings or i'rab endings and so on and so forth. This is just to give you guys in a nutshell, at a beginner level, an idea of i'rab and bina and their significance. But to understand what i'rab and bina are technically, i'rab technically means the changing of the endings of words. And bina technically means the fixation of an ending remaining fixed. And words that in which or words whose endings change, they are called mu'rab. Words whose endings don't change, they are called mabni. All right. So with that, alhamdulillah, we've understood what i'rab is and we've understood what bina is. Bina is as simple as that. With i'rab, we need a bit more details. All right. With bina, for as far as a fixed ending is concerned, there are words that can have a fixed ending whereby on the end they have a sukun, like hada. There are words that can have a fixed ending whereby they end with a fatha, like huwa. Or words that can have a fixed ending whereby they end with a kasra. Or words that have a fixed ending whereby they end with a dhamma, right? But their endings are fixed and their endings don't change, right? For mu'rab words, there's more details now. Now, we've understood what the definition of i'rab is, all right? Now, the second part of the definition of i'rab, which we are yet to understand, is why is this change caused? We've understood that this change is caused, and i'rab refers to this change that happens at the end of Arabic words. What causes this change? The idea is that in an Arabic sentence, there are words that have an effect on other words, and they cause them to take different endings. Now, we have this word Zayd. Now, in the sentence, Ja'a Zaydun, what's causing the word Zayd to have this ending? The grammarians say it's Ja'a. A verb is programmed to give rafa' to its subject, to make its subject marfu'. Right? We'll talk more about what rafa' means and what being marfu' means. But simply, for our intents and purposes here, we can say it means to have a dhamma at the end. Right? So a verb causes its subject, its fa'il, to be marfu'. And so ja'a is the amil here. It's causing this ending on Zayd because Zayd is its fa'il. And Zayd is what we call the ma'mul, the word on whom the amil is acting. And the action itself is called the amal, right? Which is the rafa. The action itself is called amal. So we have amil and we have ma'mul and we have amal. Amil is the word that affects the ma'mul and it causes it to have a particular ending. All right, and this happens only in mu'rab words. In mabni words, of course, you'll see the ending doesn't change. When I say ja'a hadha, ja'a wants to affect hadha and it wants it to have rafa at the end, but hadha is stubborn. It says, no, I'm mabni. You can't act on me. You can't change me, right? Some like some stubborn wives, right? You try to guide them and they're like, no, this is how I am. Right? Hadha is a bit like that, right? It's stubborn. Or stubborn men. We have stubborn men and we have stubborn women. Like, so ja'a hadha. Now hadha, its ending remains fixed. No matter what ending no matter how much ja'a tries to affect it, hadha doesn't get affected. Yes, it is the subject of hadha, but it doesn't accept the change. It doesn't accept the change at the end. That's why it's mabni. Okay. So that's the second part of the definition there of i'rab. This i'rab is caused, this change of ending is caused by awamil. Now, alhamdulillah. Now, i'rab is of different types, right? There are 4 types of i'rab. There are 4 types of possible endings that words which are mu'rab can have. We have rafa', we have nasb, we have jar, and we have jazm. A mu'rab word, when it is affected by its amil and it's caused to be in the state of rafa', it will be called marfu'. And a mu'rab word, when it's affected by its amil and it's caused to be in the state of nasb, is called mansub. And a mu'rab word, when it's affected by its amil and is caused to be in the state of jar, it's called majroor. And a mu'rab word which is affected by its amil and caused to be in the state of jazm, it's called majzoom. All right. And the states themselves, they're called rafa', nasb, jar, and jazm. طيب. Alhamdulillah. Now, before we go further into the details about rafa', nasb, jar, and jazm, let's go back to bina and understand which words are mabni. Right? So we said certain words are mabni. Which words are mabni in Arabic? Number 1, particles, harf. All particles are mabni. We talked about what particles are. Particles, harf, huruf, all of them are mabni. Fi, ila, an, ala, waw, fa. Every single type of particle is always mabni. It has a fixed ending. Its ending never changes. And on top of that, they don't have a lot of grammatical functions, right? All they do is they are used to connect words together. They're used to connect other words together. So, and in doing that, there are different types, right? So they show connections between other words. That connection could be the connection by way of a conjunction, a harf atf, like waw or fa. Or that connection could be to show that so and so is going from here to there, right? But they're used to connect words and put words together. So they are essentially prepositions or just simple connectors. They don't have different functions to perform. That's all they do, right? That's all they do. They have different meanings, yes, but they don't have a lot of different grammatical functions.